Picture this. You wake up groggy, not quite ready to face the day, and the bed looks like a battlefield. Maybe last night's Netflix binge didn't help. The alarm? Yeah, you snoozed it. Twice. Now imagine if the first thing you did, instead of doom scrolling, was something simple but game-changing. You made your bed. Sounds too easy to be life-changing, right? But that's exactly what a Navy SEAL commander swears by, and he's got 10 lessons to prove it. Introduction. Make Your Bed by Admiral William H. McRaven is a small yet powerful book packed with life lessons learned from his Navy SEAL training. This book originated from a 2014 commencement speech at the University of Texas that went viral because, well, who knew military wisdom would resonate with everyone from college graduates to your everyday person facing life's hurdles? McRaven doesn't just share survival tactics for Navy SEALs. These lessons are for anyone who wants to face challenges head-on, whether you're trying to conquer the battlefield or just make it through a Monday morning. In this book, McRaven breaks down 10 key lessons, each rooted in his intense military training and laced with the grit and wisdom gained from years of facing impossible odds. The whole thing boils down to this: if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. Chapter 1. Start your day with a task completed. McRaven kicks things off by sharing one of the simplest yet most overlooked lessons in life. Start your day with a small win. In the SEALs, that win was making his bed perfectly. And no, it's not about military obsession with neatness. It's about starting your day with a sense of accomplishment. He recounts how during SEAL training, a meticulously made bed was more than a neat sheet. It represented discipline and a job well done. The payoff? Even if the rest of the day spiraled out of control. And for SEALs, out of control could mean anything from grueling physical exercises to mental warfare. At least you knew you started it right. Plus, McRaven points out something profound. Those little wins stack up. If you can't handle the small stuff, how will you tackle the big, life-altering challenges? Making your bed is an easy, achievable goal, and no matter how chaotic the day becomes, you'll come back to something that went right. It's like giving yourself a psychological high five. And as McRaven shares anecdotes from his military career, even when he was injured and out of commission after a parachuting accident, the first thing he did when he could move was, you guessed it, make his bed. The act was small, but it symbolized his readiness to get back into the fight, no matter how broken he felt. Key takeaway: don't underestimate the small victories. They can set the tone for much bigger successes down the line. Chapter 2. You Can't Go It Alone. SEAL training teaches you the value of teamwork real fast. One of McRaven's favorite metaphors is the small rubber raft that the SEALs carry on their heads as they train. In SEAL training, you learn quickly that survival and success are impossible alone. Someone has to help you carry that raft. Throughout the training, recruits must carry, paddle, and move as a team. And when someone falls behind, whether because of sickness, injury, or just sheer exhaustion, the others have to pick up the slack. McRaven shares a dramatic personal story where, during a parachute jump, a mid-air collision left him nearly crippled. Lying bedridden after his pelvis was split apart, it wasn't just his grit that kept him going. His wife, his friends, and his fellow SEALs helped him heal, literally and figuratively. This chapter really hammers home that none of us are invincible, no matter how strong we think we are. Everyone, even the toughest Navy SEAL, needs a support system. What's more, in SEAL training, if one man falls behind, the whole team suffers. It's a direct lesson in the importance of relying on others, lifting each other up, and sharing the burdens. McRaven's team, on multiple occasions, dug deep when one of their members faltered, and when it was his turn to stumble, they paddled harder for him. Key takeaway: life isn't a solo journey. Whether you're storming a battlefield or just navigating the ups and downs of life, you'll need a team. Find people you trust to share the load. Chapter 3. Only the size of your heart matters. In SEAL training, you quickly learn that physical strength and size don't matter nearly as much as you'd think. Sure, muscles might help you through an obstacle or two, but when it comes to surviving the intense, grueling nature of training, it's heart and determination that make all the difference. McRaven drives this point home by recounting the story of a fellow trainee, a young man who, by all appearances, seemed too small for the SEALs. He was shorter than most of the other recruits, and it seemed the instructors doubted whether he had the toughness to endure. During one particularly rough session at the beach, where the pounding surf was a test all on its own, this small recruit stood next to McRaven. As the instructors berated the trainee, questioning whether he had the guts to make it, they told him he should quit before the waves broke him in half. But the man didn't flinch. He stood firm, chin up, and with defiance in his eyes, he simply responded, "I won't quit." Later that day, during a 2-mile swim, this same recruit didn't just survive, he thrived. He finished near the top of the class, outperforming men who were much larger and seemingly more physically capable. The lesson here? It's not the size of the person that determines success, it's the size of their heart, their grit, and their unyielding determination. McRaven's own experience in SEAL training further solidifies this message. Before he even began, he had a moment of doubt when he encountered Tommy Norris, one of the SEAL team legends. Norris didn't look like what you'd expect from a Medal of Honor recipient. He was small, slight in frame, with a mop of hair and a quiet demeanor. When McRaven first saw him, he couldn't believe this was the man who had saved multiple lives during the Vietnam War, sneaking deep into enemy territory to rescue downed pilots. Norris had been nearly booted from SEAL training because of his size, but he proved that when the chips are down, the heart matters far more than muscles. The same is true for life. We often size people up based on superficial qualities, their appearance, background, or resources, but what truly defines a person's ability to succeed is their inner drive. McRaven reminds us that talent, money, and privilege might get you started, but it's heart and determination that will carry you through the toughest times. We all face obstacles, and it's in those moments that our character is truly tested. This chapter isn't just about SEALs or Navy recruits. It's a reminder to anyone facing tough challenges that you don't need to be the biggest or the strongest to win. You just need to have the heart to keep going, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Key takeaway: the true measure of a person isn't their physical size or status, it's the size of their heart and their determination to keep pushing forward no matter the challenge. Chapter 4, Life's Not Fair, Drive On. McRaven gets straight to the point in this chapter. Life isn't fair, and there's no use complaining about it. If you want to achieve anything worthwhile, you need to accept that sometimes, no matter how hard you try, things just won't go your way. The sooner you can internalize that lesson, the better prepared you'll be to face life's inevitable setbacks. This lesson came to McRaven in the form of a SEAL training punishment known as becoming a sugar cookie. Now, being a sugar cookie has nothing to do with actual cookies. It's a punishment where trainees are ordered to run fully clothed into the ocean, soak themselves completely, and then roll in the sand until they are covered head to toe. The real kicker? There's no reason for it. Sometimes you get turned into a sugar cookie for doing something wrong, but just as often, it was completely arbitrary. Maybe the instructor didn't like the way you looked at him, or maybe you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. One morning, McRaven found himself becoming a sugar cookie after some perceived infraction. There he was, soaking wet, rolling in the sand, with grit working its way into every uncomfortable crevice. And the worst part? There was no rhyme or reason for it. It didn't matter how hard he tried or how well he performed, sometimes you got stuck with the punishment anyway. His instructor, Lieutenant Moki Martin, later offered him the harsh reality behind the punishment. When McRaven asked why he was singled out, Martin replied bluntly, "Because life isn't fair, and the sooner you learn that, the better off you'll be." Moki Martin knew firsthand how unfair life could be. After an accident during a triathlon training session left him paralyzed from the waist down, Moki could have easily given in to despair. But instead, he took the blow in stride. He never once complained about his misfortune, nor did he wallow in self-pity. He went on to build a new life for himself, becoming an accomplished painter, starting a family, and founding the Super Frog Triathlon in Coronado. Moki's response to his accident showed McRaven that even when life hits you with the most unfair circumstances imaginable, you don't have the luxury of quitting. You have to keep moving forward. McRaven's message here is universal. We all get sugar cookied by life at some point. You could do everything right, work hard, be kind, stay disciplined, and still find yourself facing unfair circumstances. Maybe you didn't get the promotion you deserved. Maybe an unexpected illness threw your life off course, or maybe someone else's actions have derailed your plans. Whatever the case, the worst thing you can do is dwell on it. Complaining about how life isn't fair won't change your situation. The only thing you can control is how you respond. McRaven makes it clear that the greatest people in history didn't let life's unfairness define them. From Helen Keller, who lost her sight and hearing but became an inspirational figure, to Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison but went on to lead a nation, these individuals didn't let unfairness break them. They accepted the hard truth and pressed on. Ultimately, McRaven's advice is simple. When life knocks you down, when it coats you in sand and makes you uncomfortable, don't waste time feeling sorry for yourself. Dust yourself off and keep moving. Life's not fair. Drive on. Key takeaway. Life's unfairness is inevitable, but your response to it is what defines your success. Don't waste time complaining. Instead, accept that setbacks happen and move forward with determination and resilience. Chapter 5. Failure can make you stronger. Failure stings. There's no sugarcoating it. But according to McRaven, failure can also be your best friend if you let it. He brings up a particularly dreadful part of SEAL training called the circus. No, it's not about lions and trapeze artists. The circus is 2 hours of additional, grueling physical exercises, punishment for failing to meet performance standards. Think of it as an after party for those who fell short during the day, except this one involves more push-ups, pull-ups, and endless flutter kicks. Worst of all, if you show up to the circus exhausted, chances are you'll fail again and get signed up for another circus. This downward spiral has broken many trainees. McRaven paints a vivid picture of his own struggles with the circus. After failing to keep up with the class on a swim, he and his swim buddy, Mark, were on the dreaded list. Day after day, they faced the extra punishment. Yet, something surprising happened. The more they pushed through the circus, the stronger they became. What started as a humiliating punishment turned into an opportunity. Their swims improved, they moved up in the class, and by the end of training, they were among the strongest performers. McRaven uses this lesson to remind us that failure is not the end, it's part of the process. In life, we all face circuses. Whether it's losing a job, flunking an exam, or messing up a presentation, these moments feel like the end of the world. But here's the thing, these failures, when faced head-on, can make you stronger. They build your character, thicken your skin, and prepare you for future challenges. If you keep showing up, you'll get better. The chapter climaxes with McRaven recounting how he was once fired from a SEAL squadron for trying to change its structure. His reputation took a hit, and the whispers followed him everywhere. It was one of the darkest points of his career, but instead of quitting, McRaven used it as fuel to outwork, outthink, and outperform everyone around him, and that perseverance led to him eventually commanding all the SEALs on the West Coast and beyond. Key takeaway, don't fear failure, embrace it. The pain of failure can either break you or make you stronger, and the choice is yours. Keep showing up to the circus, and one day you'll come out tougher, faster, and better than before. Chapter 6. You must dare greatly. SEAL training is filled with risky obstacles, but none more intimidating than the slide for life. Imagine a 30-foot tower, a long nylon rope extending to the ground, and you suspended halfway up, trying to beat the clock while hanging on for dear life. This obstacle tested not just physical strength, but mental courage. You could take it slow and steady, moving inch by inch under the rope, or you could throw caution to the wind, fling yourself head first down the line, and hope you didn't wipe out. For McRaven, the slide for life presented a dilemma. Inching his way across the rope, while safer, cost him valuable time. Every second counted, and SEAL instructors weren't exactly lenient with slow finishes. So, despite the risk, McRaven decided to face his fear, abandon the slow approach, and slide down head first. The result? he crossed the finish line faster than ever before, proving that sometimes taking a risk is exactly what you need to get ahead. This lesson goes beyond obstacle courses. McRaven reflects on daring moments in his military career where calculated risks paid off, particularly during a dangerous daylight rescue mission in Iraq. The team had to land 3 Black Hawk helicopters in a tiny courtyard with barely enough room to breathe, let alone land. While it was high risk, the mission succeeded because they dared to act, even when failure seemed probable. McRaven insists that in life you can't just inch your way along, avoiding risk and hoping to make it safely. You must be willing to dare greatly, push the limits, and occasionally slide headfirst into the unknown. Sure, there's a chance you might fail spectacularly, but there's an equally good chance you might succeed beyond your wildest dreams. The greatest achievements come from those who aren't afraid to take a leap of faith. Key takeaway: if you want to change your life, you have to take risks. You can't play it safe all the time. Whether in your career, relationships, or personal growth, daring greatly is the only way to truly make a mark. Chapter 7: Stand Up to the Bullies. In this chapter, McRaven delves into the darker side of life, dealing with bullies, but not just the kind you meet on the playground. Bullies exist in all walks of life, from the workplace to the international stage, and whether it's a ruthless boss or a global terrorist organization, McRaven emphasizes one critical truth: you can't back down. Bullies thrive on fear and intimidation. The moment they sense weakness, they exploit it. McRaven tells a story from SEAL training that encapsulates this lesson. It was Hell Week, the most notorious part of SEAL training, where recruits are pushed to their absolute limits. As if the physical exhaustion wasn't enough, the instructors love to add mental pressure by circling trainees like sharks, taunting them to quit. In one particular exercise, McRaven recalls how he and his fellow trainees were pitted against huge waves, freezing cold water, and relentless taunts. Some dropped out, unable to withstand the physical and psychological strain. But McRaven realized something important. The instructors were bullies. The only way to beat them was to stand firm, not give in to the fear, and just keep moving forward. Later, McRaven recounts his time leading special operations forces in the Middle East. There, the stakes were higher. The bullies were terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, and the only way to protect innocent lives was to face these threats head-on. The message is clear: bullies, whether in your personal life or on the world stage, will always exist, but they win only when you let them. Stand your ground, and more often than not, they'll retreat. Key takeaway: bullies thrive on fear. Whether in a classroom, a boardroom, or a battlefield, standing up to them is the only way to show them, and yourself, that you won't be pushed around. Chapter 8: Rise to the Occasion. If there's one thing SEAL training teaches you, it's that things will go wrong. Every day presents a new challenge, a new obstacle designed to push you beyond what you thought possible. But when things get tough, McRaven emphasizes, you can't shrink from the challenge. You have to rise to the occasion. This chapter recounts the infamous SEAL obstacle course, where trainees are expected to tackle a series of physically demanding challenges, from scaling walls to crawling through mud, all while being timed. But the trickiest part of the course was the 40-foot slide for life, which had washed out more than a few promising candidates. In one memorable instance, McRaven describes how he watched a fellow trainee, already physically spent, approach the final leg of the course, a sheer rock wall, and falter. But instead of giving up, the trainee found one last reserve of strength, pulling himself over the wall and finishing the course. He hadn't just completed the obstacle, he had risen above it, overcoming both physical and mental limits. In the broader scope of life, McRaven connects this lesson to real-world scenarios where rising to the occasion is not optional, it's survival. He talks about military missions where, with everything going sideways, leaders had to dig deep and make split-second decisions to save lives. McRaven believes that adversity is an opportunity, not a setback. When life throws a challenge your way, it's your chance to prove what you're made of. You can rise or you can fall. Those who succeed aren't the ones who avoid challenges, they're the ones who embrace them. Key takeaway: when life pushes you to the edge, that's when you show what you're really capable of. Don't shy away from difficulties. rise to meet them head on. Chapter 9. Give people hope. McRaven doesn't mince words when it comes to the importance of hope. Without it, even the strongest among us can falter. But with it, you can get through the toughest of times. This chapter centers around one powerful idea. Hope is often what keeps people going in the face of overwhelming odds, and it's our duty to give it whenever we can. He recounts a vivid memory from SEAL training, specifically during Hell Week, a 6-day grind of non-stop training designed to break even the toughest candidates. Sleep deprivation, freezing cold water, constant physical exertion, and relentless harassment from the instructors were just the beginning. In the dead of night, the trainees were ordered into the freezing ocean, linked arm in arm, and told to stay there until enough people quit. The water was so cold it numbed their bodies, and as the minutes dragged on, McRaven could feel his spirit begin to waver. But then, something incredible happened. A single voice began to sing. One of the trainees, despite the brutal conditions, started singing a song of hope. The effect was immediate. Slowly, others joined in, their voices rising above the crashing waves. The song didn't make the water any warmer, and it didn't lessen the pain in their bodies, but it gave them something more powerful, the will to keep going. The instructors, frustrated by the display of solidarity, eventually ordered them out of the water. This small act of defiance, of singing when it seemed like there was no reason to, was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope can lift people up. It's not about having all the answers or solving every problem. Sometimes all it takes is a small gesture, a word of encouragement, or in this case a song, to keep someone going. McRaven connects this experience to his military career, particularly during his time leading special operations forces in war zones. He describes instances where soldiers, on the brink of exhaustion and despair, were given hope by their leaders, not with promises that everything would be okay, but with a steady hand and a calm presence. The best leaders know how to inspire hope even when the outcome is uncertain. Key takeaway: hope is the light that guides people through the darkest times. Whether you're facing personal struggles or leading others through hardship, never underestimate the power of a kind word, a small gesture, or even a song to lift spirits and inspire perseverance. Chapter 10. Never ever quit. Perhaps the most important lesson McRaven learned from SEAL training, and indeed from life, is the unbreakable power of persistence. In a world where it's often easier to throw in the towel, McRaven insists that true success comes to those who simply refuse to quit. SEAL training, with its brutal tests of mental and physical endurance, is designed to weed out anyone who isn't willing to push through to the end. For McRaven, quitting was never an option. And this chapter explains why it shouldn't be for you either. He takes us back to Coronado, California, where a steel bell hangs in the center of the training compound. That bell, shiny and ever-present, was a constant temptation for anyone who wanted to quit SEAL training. Ringing the bell meant one thing: you were done. The physical pain, the mental exhaustion, the endless harassment from instructors, it will all stop if you rang that bell. In McRaven's words, it was the easy way out. But here's the catch: if you rang the bell, you also rang in the end of your dream to become a Navy SEAL. You'd be saying, "I'm not strong enough," and admitting defeat not just to the instructors, but to yourself. McRaven remembers countless moments when the temptation to quit was overwhelming. During Hell Week, after days without sleep, when his muscles were screaming and his mind was filled with doubt, the bell seemed like a relief. But McRaven knew that the easy road is rarely the right one. Instead of quitting, McRaven chose to focus on the small victories, like making his bed every morning. By focusing on completing just one task at a time, he kept going, minute by minute, until he reached the end. He knew that quitting would bring immediate comfort, but would ultimately lead to long-term regret. This lesson isn't just for Navy SEALs. It's for anyone trying to achieve something difficult, whether it's completing a degree, building a career, or overcoming personal adversity. There will always be moments when quitting seems like the best option, the temptation of relief from pain, fear, or uncertainty. But those who succeed are the ones who never ring the bell. McRaven also shares stories from his time in combat where soldiers push through impossible odds by refusing to give up. In these life or death situations, persistence wasn't just a strategy, it was survival. The lesson is clear. In life, as in SEAL training, the most important thing you can do is refuse to quit no matter how tough things get. Key takeaway: success isn't about never facing challenges, it's about never giving up when those challenges come. Whether it's in your personal life, your career, or any goal you're chasing, persistence is the ultimate key to victory. Never ever quit. Chapter 11: The University of Texas Commencement Speech. The final chapter is an expanded version of the now famous commencement speech McRaven gave at the University of Texas at Austin in 2014. It's here that he first introduced the 10 lessons from SEAL training that form the backbone of Make Your Bed. The speech, which went viral, wasn't just for the graduates in attendance, it was a universal call to action for anyone looking to make a difference in the world. McRaven begins by acknowledging that changing the world might seem like an impossible task. After all, the problems we face today, from global conflict to social injustice to environmental challenges, can feel overwhelming. But here's the kicker: you don't have to change the whole world all at once. You just have to start with something small, something manageable. And for McRaven, that something is making your bed. The speech covers each of the lessons we've explored throughout the book, from the power of small victories to the importance of teamwork, resilience, and hope. He urges the graduates and readers to remember that greatness isn't achieved through grand gestures, but through consistent, daily effort. By focusing on doing the small things right, by supporting others, by facing adversity with courage, and by refusing to quit, each of us has the power to change the world, even if it's just a small corner of it. What makes this speech so impactful is McRaven's ability to connect these military lessons to everyday life. His audience may not be Navy SEALs, but they are people facing challenges, dealing with fear, and striving for success. McRaven reassures them that they already have everything they need to overcome obstacles and create positive change. All they have to do is start with one small task, like making their bed. He concludes the speech with a powerful call to action, reminding everyone that life's biggest accomplishments are built on a foundation of small, consistent actions. You don't have to be a Navy SEAL to change the world. You just have to be willing to take that first step, even if it's as simple as straightening your sheets. Key takeaway: greatness is achieved not through monumental acts, but through small daily victories. Whether it's making your bed or standing up to a bully, each action builds the foundation for bigger successes. Start small, aim high, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Conclusion: the big picture. McRaven's Make Your Bed is deceptively simple. At first glance, it seems like a collection of practical tips. Make your bed, work with a team, don't quit. But beneath these surface-level lessons are deeper insights into how we can all lead better, more meaningful lives. The power of this book lies in its universality. You don't have to be a Navy SEAL to apply these lessons. Whether you're navigating the challenges of your career, striving for personal growth, or just trying to make it through a tough week, these 10 lessons provide a roadmap for resilience, perseverance, and success. McRaven's advice isn't flashy or complicated. It's grounded in discipline, teamwork, humility, and an unshakable belief in the power of the human spirit. And that's exactly what makes it so effective. The book doesn't promise quick fixes or shortcuts to success. Instead, it encourages us to build habits, face challenges head-on, and never ever quit. If these lessons resonate with you, and they should because they're both timeless and practical, grab a copy of Make Your Bed. It's a small book, but like the first task of the day, it might just change your life.